Hi, I'm Alvina Ling,
And I'm Grace Lynn.
and we're book friends.
Forever!
We're childhood friends,
Who grew up to be
a children's book editor.
and an author and illustrator. Yay!
Welcome to Book Friends Forever. This is the It's a Matter of Taste episode.
And check out our website, bookfriendsforever.com, and our Instagram handle at bookfriendsforever_podcast. Alvina, how have you been?
I've been pretty good. We're recording this on May 6th. This past weekend, I attended my friend Evelyn's baby's half birthday, half year,
Aww.
6 months. But they kind of themed it around the May the 4th because
Uh-huh.
I think the actual birthday is May the 4th, which is also, Star Wars Day is how everyone celebrates it. Um, but yeah, so that was fun. Like a 6-month-olds are like that perfect baby age where they can hold
Yeah.
their head up and then they're really
Yeah.
cute. And yeah, and she had just taken a nap. So she was like in very good spirits, the baby, I mean. Maybe also Evelyn. No.
Evelyn probably needs a nap too.
Right, that is true. And then yeah, and I feel like the weather was supposed to be all rainy, but it turned out to be really nice this weekend, at least in New York. So that was a surprise. I was doing some editing on Sunday, but then Monday night was a gala for Link, which is Literacy in Community. And Peter Brown was getting an award, and
Yay!
I was introducing him and presenting him with said
You
award.
didn't post any photos, did you?
I did.
Oh,
I
okay. I must have
posted
missed
them
it.
on my story, and then I did post some on. It's on the same post where I posted the happy birthday to
All
the
right,
wild
I'll go
robot.
look. It must have just not showed up.
Yeah,
I
so
saw the wild robot.
yeah, it was you had to swipe.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I combined them. I just figured I didn't want to have two separate posts about Peter and the wild robot, but
I just wanted to
yes.
see what you wore. That's why.
Oh, yeah, it's just it's like a slightly fancier dress than I would wear to work, but I wore it to
Okay.
work anyway. It's just a floral. The t dress code was festive.
Yeah. I just
Um,
when you get to go to galas, I like to see what everyone's wearing.
yeah. It was a great event because I hadn't heard of this nonprofit before, and it's they're a literacy organization committed to bringing like books to children, and sometimes like underserved communities, and they actually go to where the children are. So, for example, they'll like host like a read aloud on the subway, or they'll go to a
Oh,
park and
that's
they'll bring
awesome.
books. And so it just, it kind of was like it was nice to learn about the organization. And of course it was nice to, be there. And there, there are a few other kid lit people there. Including, oh gosh, Paul Zelinsky was there with
Oh,
his
okay.
wife. We were hosted at our table by Tracy, and I'm blanking on her last name, but she's also a children's book creator. Um, and then I saw Renee Watson there,
Oh, lovely.
and it turned out so Kwame Alexander was also supposed to be honored. And then we found out that at the last minute he wasn't able to go because of family re
Oh,
emergency.
too bad.
And he had tapped Renee to accept the award
Oh,
on his behalf. And so she said that she had found out the night before, but her speech was so beautiful, I
oh.
felt the way she incorporated Kwame into the speech was really wonderful. And he did have a dedication at the end of who he dedicated the award to. Um, so I'm not sure, anyway, positive thoughts, sending positive thoughts to
Yeah.
Kwame and his family.
I hope it's just something minor with his family that he
Yeah.
take care of.
Um, but yeah, we'll
Braces or
see.
something.
No, I mean, I doubt that, but yes, I hope everything will be okay. Anyway, how have you been?
Um, Good, really busy. I had a school visit in the beginning of the week in Rye, New York, which was lovely, but the traffic was just terrible. It was like what was should have been like a 2 hour drive, like turned into a three
Yeah.
hour drive. And
I think
so
you talked about this last week because we
oh, did
recorded
I?
on Thursday instead. I think you did the school visit on Wednesday. Is that
Oh, I had
right?
another one. Okay, well, I
Oh,
had
you did
another one.
another one. Oh, okay.
So maybe that one wasn't Rye though.
Oh,
I
okay.
had another one that was also really long visit. So I might have done the Rye one. I can't remember. Anyway, I had another one.
Okay. And it was
Oh, I
also
think
terrible.
this one was Stoughton.
Okay.
Same
Oh,
thing. And same thing with my voice too. I think I talked about that last time. Every time I do a school visit, my voice goes away. Like it's just like
hmm.
it's just a cycle and it takes like at least a week to come back. So it's still rough. But um, other than that, I've been working really, really, really hard trying to get this art done for Ling and Ting. I'm really close. I got except for the cover, I got two more paintings to do, I think. And but because and the reason why I need to get it all done is because tomorrow I leave for the highlights. Oh, sorry, Boyd's Mills. They changed the name for
Right.
the Boyd's Mills retreat that Debbie and I run for Asian American Voices. And I do not plan on bringing my paints there.
Hmm.
I plan to work on my novel there. So like it's like a
Yay.
writing retreat. So
Hmm.
my goal was to finish everything before I left, but it's just not going to happen. But it's going to be mostly done. So
That's
that's
good.
that's good. So yeah. But I'm trying to see. I'm like, can I get like another one done tonight? Or, like if I stay up really, really late. So we'll see. So
Well, I hope you have a
yes.
great retreat.
Yeah, me too. I'm really looking forward to it, but it's hard. I'm not really good. Like some people can work on two projects at once. So I'm not really good at that. Like I need
Hmm.
to just focus. So like in some ways I don't feel right not
Yeah.
finishing this and then moving on to that project, but just gonna have to
Yeah.
shift, force myself to shift.
Just pretend that it's done.
Yeah, I'm just pretend it's done. It's all done.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing is I'm just trying not to get into the internet drama, which I thought would lead in today's into today's
Yes.
topic.
So today's topic is a matter of taste. We basically want to talk about our own tastes. What's the importance of taste when it comes to children's publishing? What is
Well,
taste?
taste in general, I think. I mean, the Met Gala just happened too, so that was the
Hmm.
interesting thing when you want to talk about taste.
Right. And, speaking of internet drama, the topic was in part inspired by I'd be curious to see what happens a week from now when this
Yeah,
episode
when this
drops.
drops.
But there was a lot of controversy around a quote from Mac Barnett in his new adult book. I think it's in his book, right? His
Yes.
book Make Believe, which
Hmm.
full disclosure, this is an adult book that was published by Little Brown Adult. And Mac Burnett was actually in the Hachette offices yesterday for a toast. And I got a signed copy of the book, and I have not read it yet. So we didn't want to talk in depth about his quote, except that he said that 94.7% of children's books are cruddy. I think
Crud.
that are crud. And I think there's more context in the book and the quote, so I just don't want to comment on
Yeah.
that. But we thought it would be a good opportunity to just talk about taste because
Yeah.
who gets to decide that they're crud, for example.
Exactly.
So I thought we could just start with the definition of taste. And so I looked up the definition, and it is the flavor of something or the ability of a person or animal to recognize different flavors is the technical definition. But I think we're talking about how we determine our tastes or the tastes for art or, I mean, food as well, but art, books, music, all of that. So how would you define taste?
Well, I think this has been on my mind for a while, and not just because of the Mac Barnett quote. Um, I do you remember when I came back from Taiwan? I told you like I had been reading this guidebook, right? And this guidebook that
Right.
was saying like where to go to in Taiwan, and there was this passage in there that said, unlike the temples in Japan, the temples in Taiwan are very gaudy and garish. And I was like, whoa, that's a
Yeah.
judgment,
Yeah.
like,
Hmm.
and I was like, who gets like you like gaudy and garish are words like it wasn't like decorative or ornate, like it was like gaudy and garish are judgment calls
Hmm.
on that.
Yeah.
And um and I was like, who gets to decide that they are gaudy and garish? Like to the Taiwanese people, they might like, the people who love these ornate temples, they might look at the Japanese temples and think they're really plain and boring,
Hmm.
um, so I just thought that so much of taste is in some ways cultural, right? Like, so I mean, it was obviously a Western guidebook, right? So I was
Hmm.
just like, oh, like, and it's also how our own biases and prejudices seep in without
Hmm.
even people noticing. So that's why I was like, oh, I bet you this nobody even picked up on the fact that he just called this guide tour person just made a judgment on all these temples in Taiwan, calling them like gaudy and garish, like that they because it indicates they were like of worse quality, but that was just his bias, So I don't know. That was something that was really interesting to me. And then when this quote with Mac came up, I was like, oh, it's the same thing, especially because one of the things I've read the passage where it's in context, and you guys sent me the book, or sending me the book, and it's it's his big thing, if I'm reading it correctly, um, is that he has a lot of disdain for didactic books, right? And like didactic and in general, and not just him. And the truth is not just him, but in the children's literature field in general, we look down at didactic books, like these books that teach a message, and when I was in art school, that was a big thing too, like what makes a good children's book, what makes a good children's book, and
Hmm.
these ideas of like trying to teach Johnny not to bully, like all these things are really they're like, oh, that's a terrible book. And I think in Western literature that is probably true, right? But I was thinking about it in terms of Eastern literature. I was thinking about it in terms of this Torah book, and I was thinking about like, in Chinese literature, especially for kids, it's all didactic, right? Like
Hmm.
there's like very little children's literature in Chinese culture if you take out all the didactic books,
Yeah.
like
You
because
know, that reminds me, yeah, I did my senior honor thesis in college on Chinese language versus English language picture books. And I think my subtitle, now that I'm remembering, is something about didacticism. What is the
yeah,
word? Because
didacticism.
yes, most of the Chinese language books were like, te yes, teaching. Like one was about be careful around electronic doors. Like that was the whole plot of the book about this, parent and child going around Hong Kong, I think, or some city, and it's
Yeah.
having to take care of like at the subway doors and the elevator doors, and
Yeah. And I think that it's our own bias when we say that a didactic book is a bad book. I mean,
right,
and this is where taste comes in. We
yeah,
can say that it's not our taste. Like I don't really enjoy those books, but hey, I don't think we have the right
right.
to say that they are bad. Like
Right. And so as a kid, I remember I loved the Berenstain Bears books, right?
mhm,
And every single one of those books are didactic. They're all
yeah.
teaching some kind of lesson, and I still love those books. I mean, as an adult, probably I would not consider them to be good books, but again, it's subjective, and I feel like it doesn't matter if I think they're good or not, right?
Yeah.
Like as long
Uh-huh.
as, I mean, we always say that a book for every child, right? It's like we want every book to be some child's favorite book. And whether it's Berenstain Bears or a Bluey book or Where the Wild Things Are, like there are readers for all of those books.
Yeah, and I guess I mean I've told this story on the podcast before all the time, like how, you know, um, the big humbling thing for me after going to art school, and t being taught like where the mountain where the wild things are is like the pinnacle of best children's literature, and like Hazel throwing it under the bed, and then like the next day is like bring your favorite children's book to school, like your favorite book, and she's like I want to bring My Little Pony, like which is like
Yeah.
this like cheap, it's like it's my favorite, and I was like you're gonna like I'm a children's book author, and you're gonna bring My Little Pony in, and she's like it's my favorite, and I was like okay, like
Yeah.
that. Like, and the
And
truth
I
is,
think
who
that
am
means
I
it's a
to
good
tell
book.
her that's no good?
Right. Yeah. No. Um, so okay, just going back to your own personal taste. So
Yeah.
how would you describe your own tastes in, let's say,
Yeah. So
books?
I think that's what's so interesting is because I think that it's taken me a while to be confident in my own personal tastes, right? Because I think, and maybe this is why Mac Barnett's quote struck such a chord with so many people, because I think that we are told so often what is good and what's not good. At least maybe we're not told. Maybe I was told.
Hmm.
I shouldn't speak to everybody for everybody. But like in art school, we were kind of told this is good art, this is bad art, right? Like this is good children's literature, this is bad children's literature. And it's just interesting for me to realize like, oh, there are some things in that bad children's literature that I like. There are some things in that bad art that I kind of like. Um, so what is my taste? I think I've slowly come to realize that uh my taste is just yeah, what do I like? It's it's kind of like I just like books that that make me feel um like they're a friend, right? And that's why I
Mm,
try to make books like that.
yeah.
And sometimes those books are grand books, and sometimes those books are not so grand.
Hmm.
And
Right. So
so
for you, it's like the feeling they give you is your
yes,
taste. It's like like cozy or
yes,
comforting or
I think
friendly.
that's what it is. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
what
Oh, that's
my
interesting.
taste is the feeling
Right. And that's why
now.
you like Ted Lasso, the TV show,
Yes.
because it's a
Yeah.
friendly,
And
comforting
I think the way
show.
we were taught in art school was the way it looks, right?
Hmm.
Like the way it looks, like we're taught all the like the composition and the colors and things, and those things are important. I don't want to say that they aren't, but the truth is, for me, I realize those things I can see them and I appreciate them, but really it's just the feeling that I
Hmm.
get from a piece of art that makes me like it or not. That's my taste, like
Oh, I love that. Actually, I never really thought of it that way. For me, I mean, I honestly, I like everything. And I think when it comes to food, books, movies, and I always talk about I like highbrow stuff, but I also love lowbrow stuff. I love reality television, but I also love the Oscar bait movies. I just, and I think it's because when I was a kid, I also read everything. I read Berenstain Bears, but I also
mhm.
read, the Newbery and Caldecott winners. I was at lunch last week. It was a quiet Thursday. I think this was the Thursday that we recorded our last episode. And I had lunch with two assistants and another editor. And one of the assistants said that she wasn't sure if she was cut out to be an editorial long term because she liked everything she read, like all the submissions,
Aw.
which is
Uh-huh.
really sweet. And I said, you know what? I also am that way, to be honest. I also like everything I read. It's very like I don't think I ever like purposely did not finish a book because I didn't like it. I mean,
Mhm.
I've gotten distracted and not finished a book, but
Mhm.
I can definitely learn to really enjoy anything. And I've been that way my whole life. I think I am able to decide if I want to work on a book though, or, because for me it's like if I love something. And so for me, the love usually does come with that intersection of entertainment and art, which is in my
Mhm.
mission statement. But I like a lot of things, and I think that's okay. Um, I don't know. So I guess I feel like, I don't know, I like McGriddle sandwiches at McDonald's, but I also love, like a Michelin starred restaurant meal.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's that's probably a better way to be because there's like that's why I don't like horror movies, like I don't like dystopian, like
Because
because I
it
don't
doesn't give you
like
that feeling that you,
yeah, it doesn't give me that feeling. I don't like being in that place. It makes and I think that somewhere along the lines, especially after Robert died, I was like like if I don't like being here, I
yeah,
don't want to be here. Like I don't want to waste my time being here. Like I think before Robert died, I was a little bit more like, okay, well, I'll watch The Crow again. Like it was like okay, but after that, I was like, you know what? I
no,
don't have to be here.
no,
But
it's true.
at the same time, I do think that I have to be careful that, you fall into familiar too much, right? Like that's
Hmm.
why I think it's really important that like we talk about like how I have to make adventure my word of the year because otherwise
Yeah.
you just always do what feels familiar and comfortable and cozy and like that's not good either too. So
That's true. So, when I was looking up articles about tastes, and I did find this old column in the New York Times from I think it was 2014, and it was two writers, James Parker and Adam Kirsch, who just, I guess they both wrote a little essay about taste. And Adam Kirsch wrote, taste is highly trainable in books as in food. Most of us grow up eating one cuisine, but as adults, we can enjoy many, and the same is true of what we read. Bad taste is not a disability, but a decision, the decision not to explore beyond the boundaries of what we already know we enjoy. Um, he had a kind of a snide comment about adults who read only YA fiction, but but that aside, I think it's true. Like like you don't want to just eat the foods that you grew up with. Like you do
yeah,
want to expand your palate, and I think it's the
yeah.
same with reading.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like that's the whole thing about windows and mirrors too. Like, it's
Hmm.
true. I don't like dystopian, but but I do think like every once in a while I should like
Yeah.
try to like
Well, yeah,
read a
and
short story or something.
you enjoyed Planet Project
Hail
Hail
Mary,
Mary,
but that's
which is
not
not
really
just
just.
well, but it is a little bit
Yeah,
um
that's true.
end of the worldish, I guess,
Yeah,
potentially. Um,
but
well,
it's
yeah, sorry. And also about taste, I remember I mean, we say this in publishing all the time that taste it's everything is subjective, and we
yeah,
all know a book that we love so much that another person like threw away or didn't finish. And I always remember there was once time an editorial meeting, and I think it was editor level. And I think our publisher, Megan, decided that we would all read the same submission, which is not, we don't usually do that. Usually it's like we ask for two or three volunteers. And so
mhm,
in this case, we all read this picture book that I brought. I had brought this, I remember it was a funny Christmas picture book that I really liked. I thought it was commercial and funny and clever. And so everyone said what they thought of it. And most people were like, I would say most people were like mildly in support. And then I remember Jennifer Hunt, our editorial director at the time, she said, I hated this. It reminded me of a book you'd find in the bargain bin, which was really harsh. But I thought it was interesting, just to think like, okay, I mean, we shouldn't all have the same opinion about
yeah,
books.
and I mean, yeah,
We need to have diverse opinions, or else it'll just be all the same books that are published. So, that's why I think it's important for editors and people of different tastes to be in that gatekeeper role, so it doesn't
yeah,
become homogenous, that we actually have a
yeah.
wide variety of books being published.
But I do think that like I guess I was thinking about like good taste versus bad taste. I remember I can't remember if I was talking to you or Stephen about it. It was like because when we were talking about the ornate temples, right?
Mm,
And I was thinking like so I feel like that's even though it's maybe very ornate and things, I still think it's very good taste. Like I think it's
mm,
beautiful, right?
yeah.
Yet at the same time, I will see pictures of Trump's golden toilet and his like gold ornate thing, and I think that's bad taste. And I was like, why do I think that's bad taste? Like
Mm,
what is it about that that makes it bad taste? And is the intention of it that makes it bad? Because one is trying to kind of in the temple they are making it super ornate as their idea of elevating the spirit, right? Whereas like the gold ornateness of the toilet in Trump's apartment or condo or whatever is just to elevate his own status, right? Which is probably what makes it distasteful to
I mean,
me.
I do think that your politics and or feelings about some, like for example, this Western tour book writer, his culture and his background was playing a role in how we viewed it, I think.
Yeah.
And so actually one of the in this New York Times article, they talk about this a well-known experiment where researchers gave 57 subjects two bottles of wine, one labeled a fancy Grand Cru and the other an ordinary table wine, and asked them to describe the flavor. The tasters called the Grand Cru complex and round, and the table wine unbalanced and weak. Um, but in fact, the labels have been switched. So they really are being
Yeah.
biased by their
We're
so
biased by the stories. We're
yep.
biased by the stories behind it, right?
Hmm.
And this ties into what we talked about earlier in an earlier podcast where I feel like what's the story behind the art is getting more and more important. Like,
Hmm.
like if I saw the gold ornate toilet and stuff like that of like, there was a Duchamp show at the MoMA, and he's famous for putting the toilet on the pedestal, right? Marcel Duchamp, and like everyone's like, "Is this art? Is this not art?" Like, but it's a very provocative thing, and but you put that there, but there's the story behind it. And then I see the gold toilet of Trump, and it's like a different story, like in that there's
Yeah.
very different visceral
Hmm.
reactions to both. And I think that that is what is so interesting now about taste. I think
Hmm.
taste is getting more and more influenced by the stories behind it.
Hmm.
Um,
I
and I
think
think it
even if,
always was.
yeah, I think it's interesting that the the temples were called Gaudi because or
Yeah,
Gaudi, I guess, which comes
yes,
from the artist
Gaudi.
Gaudi,
I
who
know.
I just saw a lot of in Barcelona.
Mhm.
And his stuff is so magnificent. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it is very ornate. And I think that, maybe some people feel like overly fussy or, but
Yes.
I do think it's, I don't know, it's just objectively
Yeah.
beautiful,
I
but
I
maybe
think
not.
it's
Maybe
yeah,
it's
but it's
subjective.
all taste, right? To
Yeah.
some people, like to me, something that ornate usually symbols to me like, oh wow, somebody has put so much time to do all these little details and make all these little things. Like,
Yeah.
but I know too, like I like not like Robert, he was like, oh, it's so fussy and like I just like things clean, so
Yeah.
so
Right.
it's
And
all
it's kind of like the minimalism versus hygge. What is it called?
high. I know, yeah, I don't know what it is.
The
High
kind of like
high.
cozy
Yeah,
clutter. I mean,
yeah,
I lean more towards sometimes I wish I were more minimalist, but I do lean
yeah.
more towards clutter,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
guess.
I'm definitely a maximalist. Though but at the same time, I can appreciate minimalism. See, and I think that's what it is. It's like, and I think that's where perhaps Mac Barnett miss took a wrong step, right?
Hmm.
Is that like he called other people's work crud, right? Like if he had just said there's too many books out there, like if I don't know,
If
if he
he had
made it a
said there are too
tasting,
many books that are talking down to children, maybe
yes,
if he had
like or
worded it that
something.
way.
Yeah, like I feel like if he had made it more of a taste thing or something more of a specific thing. No, sorry, he did make it a taste. Alex, take that part out because I've messed up. I think where Mac maybe misstepped is that he made his taste into a judgment of quality,
Mm, right.
and I
Hmm.
think that is what um hurt a lot of feelings, like and I think that is where can be we all have to kind of watch out, right? Like our taste does not like just because we don't like it doesn't mean it's bad, like and I think that's
Yeah.
where it's a lesson that we're always learning, I think.
Do you think there is such thing as objectively good writing?
Um, I think there's objectively bad writing.
Mm,
Um, and what I think, well, objectively bad, two things I think is objectively bad. One is something that is completely um non-understandable. And
right.
that's bad. That's bad, or because then the writer has failed in their mission, right?
Hmm.
Because their mission is to communicate. Like that is number one. They have failed in their mission to communicate. So that's bad. And me personally, um, I looked up this quote, we were talking about it earlier, that was in Big Magic, and it's this quote by someone named Adam Phillips, and it says, "If the art legitimizes cruelty, I think the art is not worth having."
Mm,
And that is kind of something that I think is bad. That is how I feel. I think
mm,
the art, if the writing, the art legitimizes cruelty, then I think it's bad,
hmm.
like.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess going back to the story behind art, when you were talking about the differences of the toilet art or not art, is, if you talk about AI art, right? Like if I say AI art, I mean, I do think like sometimes it can maybe be of a beautiful, beautiful scenery or and if I had known that someone had drawn it themselves, I would have like, okay, that's beautiful. But knowing that it was done by AI just to me makes it feel like crud, I guess I would
Yeah,
say.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And the same, but I think there's a I can't remember if we talked about this, but photography, say. Like when we were in the royal palace, there was this huge portrait of the royal family, and I thought it was a photograph. And then when I read the plaque, it said it was a painting, and it made it so much more impressive at that point
Uh-huh.
because I thought, oh my gosh, like someone spent years painting this huge portrait as opposed to, oh, it's a photograph that they, just
Yeah.
blew up. So yeah, I do think the story behind the art makes a big
Yeah, I think
difference.
so because when you know that a human has basically sacrificed parts of their lives to create this, right? And it gives it value, at least that's how I feel,
Yeah.
like, and so
Yeah. It's um do you want to what did you want to talk about the Met Gala since you mentioned that in the beginning?
oh, I was just thought it was the Met Gala is interesting as a
It's like exercise of
as an
taste, right?
exercise, yeah, in taste because there is this very John Singer Sargent did the painting Madame X, right? Very famous painting. And a couple of different people use that painting as their
Inspirations.
inspiration for their outfit. And one, of course, was what's her name? Bezos's Bezos's
Oh,
wife.
Lauren
Sanchez,
Sanchez, Lauren Sanchez.
Bezos. And it was just so interesting to see side by side and then I think another celebrity, I want to say it's Julianne Moore, but it's probably not, also used it as her inspiration. And to see how they both reinterpreted this painting was so fascinating. And
I have
in
to look
some
it up.
ways, it was kind of like good taste, bad taste, good taste, bad taste. Because
Interesting.
it was like one was very elegant, like they were obviously emphasizing all the elegance and the curved lines, where the other one was just it was like really like sexy like very like corseted waist. I don't know. One looked much cheaper than the other, and it's kind of hard to put your finger on why one looks so cheap and why one doesn't. We
I'm
should name
looking
it
it
so
up
people can look
now.
it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on. Okay, so we looked it up. It was Julianne Moore and it was Lauren Sanchez Bezos. So if you look up their uh outfits for the Met Gala and put it side to side and also look up John Singer Sargent's Madame X and you can see how they reinterpret it and it's very, very interesting, I think. And you could see h- I think it's like interesting exercise in taste.
Yeah, now I'm just looking at all these. I mean, yeah, Met Gala is pretty wild, I think, in the variety of what people, how people dress.
Yeah, well, this year was a little weird because of the Bezoses, I guess.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
called it the billionaire gala, not
I
the.
really like, did you see Eileen Gu's outfit with the bubbles?
No, I didn't
It was
see.
very whimsical and joyful. So sh her dress looked like it was made out of bubbles.
Oh, I'm looking at
And
it
then there
now.
was
It's so
like a bubble
cool.
machine going. And so she
Oh,
was constantly like surrounded by bubbles. I just
that's
really, that was my
cute.
favorite. But I
Oh,
haven't
that's
seen a lot of the looks.
yeah. I
Yeah. I think it's interesting, I guess. So Steve and I have been watching American Idol as we have, and we'll sometimes fast forward through the actual judging part. And we just like to hear the singing. And we have a favorite singer, and I can't remember her name, but it's interesting and she made it to the top three. But it's interesting. Sometimes I'll go on Reddit and I'll see, and people will just say like, "Oh, she's terrible," and it just sounds like she's talking like the whole song, and it's just, and I mean, I think it's divisive because obviously she is popular and she made it to the top three, and the judges love her, and but yeah, it's just a reminder of it's a matter of taste.
it's all a matter of taste.
Um,
Oh,
All right, so let's move on to our fortune cookies segment. And this topic actually came out of our question of the week that we have at my office, and it's on Teams, and it's totally optional, but different people take turns asking a question of the week. And this is a question I actually asked last week because I had just run the half marathon, and I was humble bragging about it. But I did say that I'd never had any desire to run long distance. I had started jogging in college, but I was, max 3 miles.
Mhm.
Um, but now running long distance is such a big part of my life. I run, I would say on average one, sometimes two half marathons a year. And it's just become a big part of my life. But I think my younger self would be shocked and horrified. So basically, the question is, what are some other things that are such a big part of your life today that your younger self would be really surprised by?
Yeah,
So
how young do you think? Are you
I can
thinking?
think it could be any. I mean, but maybe mostly child, maybe let's say up
Okay.
to 20, age 20.
Okay. Because I know my childhood self would be so surprised how much I exercise now. But honestly, my 20-year-old self, like my 30-year-old self would
Would
be really
also be
surprised.
surprised.
Would also be surprised that like I now that I'm gonna humble brag too, like that I actually like get up at 5 in the morning to go and exercise 3 times a week. Like and I like run in the morning. Um so that's been a really important part of my life in the last 2 years, and I'm surprised myself.
I think another thing for me is public speaking, and maybe
Oh
this would be
yeah,
for you too.
yeah,
And
yeah,
this was actually
definitely.
one of my colleagues' answers too, is just would be totally surprised to know how much public speaking is a part of our lives today.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yes, public speak definitely. Um, so I was thinking when so I was thinking writing would be surprising to my 20-year-old self because I was in art school at the time, and I don't think writing was like writing a novel was not really a part
Hmm.
of what was thinking I would be doing. Though but then I was thinking childhood, and I was like, no, when I was a kid, I was writing these like really
Yeah.
long
You
melodramatic
won, you
stories.
got like what, second place or something in
Yeah, yeah. So like I don't think my childhood self would be surprised.
hmm.
But my college self would be surprised
Yeah.
that I write novels now and write that writing is such a big part of my what I do as part of creating.
Hmm. I think another thing I mean, I don't, I remember when I was in high school, I wrote my epitaph as a school assignment. And one of the lines
Oh,
was,
that's
she,
cheerful.
I know, one of the lines was, she had traveled around the United States, but had never traveled the world.
Oh,
And I said, that was how it was her whole life. Always wait, what is the line? It was like, always the average of the above
Oh,
average.
I
Yeah.
remember. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So, I hadn't left the country until, but I did finally when I was 16 to go to my grandfather's funeral in Taiwan. But yeah, I don't think I really imagined myself traveling like
Huh.
around the world as much as I have. I think my younger self would also be surprised that I don't have children of my own
Mm.
now.
Uh-huh.
But I think in a way, having this child-free life is what has allowed me to travel so much and have the life that I have. So I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. But
Yeah.
yeah, in general, my life looks nothing like I imagined it as a kid.
I think I think what would be really surprising to me as a kid is how much the computer has become a
Mm,
part of our life.
right,
Like
that's
I
true.
remember being like scared of the computer. Like I
Hmm.
remember my mom like had brought me over to like a friend's house so he could like teach us about the computers and I was like scared. Like I didn't want to touch it. I was like afraid I would break it and like so I think that's a really interesting thing too.
Hmm. What do you think is like the least surprising? What would be the least surprising to your child self?
What would be the least surprising? Probably that I'm surrounded by books.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same, but like I still love to read.
Yeah. It's like, oh, books, of course.
Yeah. Although maybe the audiobook would be
Oh
surprising,
yeah.
that
That
piece.
may be surprising that I do so much listening to books. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, now we'll end as we always do with what we're grateful for. So, Grace, what are you grateful for?
Let's see. So I'm grateful that I feel like whenever we talk about like the industry, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so grateful that I'm still here. Like that I'm still kicking. Like still kicking, making books. Like so I'm really grateful for that. And along those lines, you just told me the other day that The Girl and the Dragon is on the Mass Book Award long list. So
Yay.
really awesome because that book is it's a weird time for middle grade in general, so like every I feel like every time I hear something good happening to that book, it feels like such a win. Like even it's like my daughter read it, I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. Like it seems like every little win that book gets
Yeah,
is
that's
big,
nice.
so
Yay.
how about you?
I'm grateful for Link, the literacy and community organization, and just all of the literary literacy nonprofits that are out there, and just doing such great work and getting books to kids. I'm grateful for our Raising Readers initiative that is also dedicated to that. So yeah, let's turn this children's book industry around,
Yeah.
and we'll go on the upswing again. And because kids are gonna,
Yay.
I mean,
I know it's time for the pendulum to swing
yeah,
back.
I mean, I have a lot of hope. I mean, we actually just had a presentation on ReaderLink, which includes Target and some other,
Uh-huh.
and there is a lot of the return to analog is kind of a trend. So,
Yay.
like coloring books and crafting books and journals are popular, which I
Yeah.
think also like physical books are.
Yeah, and there's a lot of talk about them taking computers out of schools, which I think
Mhm.
would be a great boon, not just for books, but honestly for kids. Like
Right, I do too.
like
So anyway, I do. So I have hope. So I'm grateful for all of these initiatives and organizations that give us
yes.
hope. All right, and that was the It's a Matter of Taste episode. Thanks for joining us, and thanks to Alex at Pacey Work Studio for editing this podcast. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and tell a friend about it.
And tag us on social media using the hashtag BookFriendsForever, or send us a message via Instagram at BookFriendsForever_podcast or via our website, BookFriendsForever.com. And please join our Patreon. The link is in the show notes.
I'm Alvina Ling, and you can find me at Alvina Ling on Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads.
And I'm Grace Lynn, and you can find me at Pacey Lynn on Instagram and Threads, and author Grace Lynn on Facebook.
Have a great week.
And don't forget to read. Bye.